this computer. Okay, hello everyone. This is Dr. Roger Paul, and tonight we're going to continue our study, paper 56, Universal Unity, and we're on section 2, Intellectual Unity, and that's on page 638 of the original book, or paper 56, section 2, paragraph 1. So that's where we're at. Everybody find their way in the original book. Well, this is interesting. The color is different on Facebook than it is on my computers. How about that?
I can't see it.
Yeah, well, on Facebook I can, I run Facebook and another computer so I can see it when we're live to make sure it's coming through, and it's a totally different color. It's kind of interesting. Anyway, still kind of a blue, but the other almost looks green. Okay, let's get started. Diane, would you take the first paragraph? Oh, let me explain to everyone before I get started. We have decided, I don't know if anybody was with me Saturday listening, but we have decided instead of doing Saturdays, we're going to do the life of Christ on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And that will not start this week. We have probably another 2 hours for this paper, maybe 3. So if it's 2 hours, we will start it on Tuesday. We'll do the life of Christ. We'll go all the way through the life of Christ on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And for y'all on Saturdays that was trying to listen online, you can listen to it on Facebook or YouTube after we do it. If you can't make it on Tuesdays and Thursdays, you can listen to it on the videos for sure. So just want to let everybody know, Saturday we will not be online. So it just didn't work out. So we're going to go from there. And let's get started. Go ahead.
Okay. 2, intellectual unity. The thought father realizes spirit expression in the word Son and attains reality expansion through paradise in the far-flung material universes. The spiritual expressions of the eternal Son are correlated with the material levels of creation by the function of the infinite spirit, by whose spirit-responsive ministry of mind and in whose physical directive acts of mind, the spiritual realities of deity and the material repercussions of deity are correlated the one with the other.
Okay, this is kind of a hard paragraph to understand, but look at the beginning when it says intellectual unity. So what it's trying to explain to us is there's a unity in the intellectual thought patterns of God the Father and us. Okay, and that's why they go into this great explanation in this paragraph about how this works. So when the thought father, it has thought dash father, realizes the spirit expression in the word the Son. So the thought comes from the Father, and the word or the expression comes from the Son, but it's in the spiritual form. And us being finite beings, in order for us to understand that, it has to be interpreted from the spiritual aspect to the mindal aspect through the adjutant mind spirits of the spirit, which comes through the local universe mother spirit. Okay, so these things have to be translated from the thought of the Father to the word of the Son to the expression through paradise and the infinite spirit to make us as finite beings understand it, because we're not spirit beings yet, right? The thought adjuster within us is a spiritual being, but we are not part of that spiritual being until we fuse with the adjuster. So that thought pattern is not part of us yet. Those thought patterns are going into our soul, being saved in our soul. So what has to happen is it has to get interpreted through the material universe, through the infinite spirit, right? And with us, it's the 7 adjutant mind spirits that it's interpreted. So that's what this is all about. Okay, so when they said the spiritual expressions of the eternal sons are correlated with the material levels. All right. This is a function of the infinite spirit through the local universe mother spirit. Okay. And that spirit's response is the ministry of mind through the local universe mother spirit. And that's the spiritual realities of deity in the material repercussions of deity that's correlated to one another. So, what they're telling us is this: for intellectual unity to happen, we need this stepping down from this high concept of God the Father talking to through the adjuster, going down through the Son, our spiritual connection, and then going through the infinite spirit, our mind. And these things are all integrated together. And that's what they're calling, intellectual unity. Okay, so it takes all these different parts for us to be able to understand deity.
And also,
Roger.
Roger, that spiritual expression needs to be attenuated,
Yes,
stepped
down.
down
Right.
for us to be able to understand.
Yeah. And it kind of reminds you, Rodney, of standing before God the Father in paradise, right? And they talk about how the brilliance and the light of God the Father is so illuminating. We as mortal creatures, we couldn't even stand in front of God the Father, right?
Right.
It would be too overwhelming, really. So that's part of our process going through Havana, is learning how not only to recognize God the Father, but prepare ourselves for that time when we stand before God the Father and are able to, if you would, comprehend what He's will say to us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's this intellectual unity they're talking about.
Roger,
Yes.
Would it be okay at that last sentence there, before
Let me go back here so that
no,
people
you
can.
don't need to go back.
Oh, okay.
You read it.
Okay.
Repercussion was the word you used. That
Right.
they used that word. Uh, is it okay? Does it also bring in the supreme and the mighty supreme, like in the sevenfold as they come down to us, and as we do our work within the supreme and the creator's son and the mother spirit?
Yes, it does, because it's part of the experience of life, right?
Okay.
And in order for it to be an experience of life, the Supreme has to be involved in it, right?
Mhm.
And we're going to find out in this very paper coming up in a few paragraphs that the Supreme was alive before the materialization of the seven super universes. I don't know if you remember that from, 10
Yes.
years ago when we
Mhm.
did this, but the Supreme itself was alive before the creation of the seven super universes. So the Supreme is a full-blown deity person before all this started. Now, we make out like it's not a real person yet because we're waiting for the full fruition of the Supreme because of the experience of the seven super universe coming into light and life. But the Supreme is alive in paradise and receiving all this experience through the seventh master spirit, in which we know from studying that before, right? So the seventh master spirit is really relating all this experiential information back to the Supreme in paradise constantly. But if you think about it, the seventh master spirit, which is the master spirit that heads our seventh super universe, is the, if you would, vicegerent of the Supreme right now.
Mhm.
So the Supreme's not only alive in paradise, but all the relationship between us and the Supreme through the seventh super universe comes directly through that seventh master spirit. So we're kind of in an advantage because we're right next to the seventh master spirit, being this is his seventh super universe. So he can see that we are in touch with the Supreme constantly because of his position, justice position between us and the Supreme, right? So
Yeah.
it's all really interesting. It's amazing how everything works. All right, let's go on to the next one. I forgot to turn my second camera off, don't I? Hi, everybody, I'm two people. Let me turn this back over here to just my picture so I don't confuse everybody here. Mute that camera. That's better. Okay. Let's see. I was getting ready to ask myself to read, but I think I'll skip that and ask Rodney to.
All right, if I have to.
Yeah.
Mind is the functional endowment of the infinite spirit. Therefore, infinite in potential and universal in bestowal. The primal thought of a universal Father eternalizes in dual expression the olive paradise and his deity equal, the spiritual and eternal Son. Such duality of eternal reality renders the mind, God, the infinite spirit, inevitable. Mind is the indispensable channel of communication between spiritual and material realities. The material evolutionary creature can conceive and comprehend the indwelling spirit only by the ministry of mind.
You can see the relationship here of the Trinity, can't you?
Yes.
You know, God the Father being the original origin of the thought, and then the eternal Son as the word, they say in most cases, of the eternal Son, right? The spirit, it goes from the thought to the spirit relationship through the Son, and then we have the mind connection through the infinite spirit. So it takes all three of these to bring it down to a material where it can be a communication between the spiritual and the material, because without the mind connection, if it was just spiritual, we wouldn't be able to hear it or understand it because we are not on the spiritual level yet, right? Only our thought adjuster is in our soul. All right, so there has to be some juxtaposition in between which allows us to comprehend these things. All right.
True.
And that's why it says here that the material evolutionary creature can conceive and comprehend the indwelling spirit only by what? The ministry of the mind, which is the infinite spirit. And we know locally it's the local universe mother spirits through the seven adjutants, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
Roger, I'm lingering here
Okay.
thinking, trying to understand, I suppose. You know, there is the Trinity,
Yeah.
uh, and there is paradise,
Right.
and there is that very distinct thing that I grasp between the eternal Son being pure spirit
Yeah.
and um, and personality, right? He is
Right.
absolute personality.
And you have to remember he's the deity equal to God the Father too, right?
And his juxtaposition, I like that word, to
Yeah.
paradise. I don't know if I heard you say that or you
Yeah.
read it. I don't know. To paradise. So there is the infinite, there's the eternal Son and paradise,
Right.
which really the two of them are complete except for the mind.
Right.
The mind is lacking there. And
Yes.
then comes the infinite spirit
Yes.
and kind of puts them together and
Right.
brings everything out of them.
That's right. And it's interesting that they mention here that the dual expression, the Isle of Paradise and his deity equal. So in paradise, the concept from God the Father obviously can be understood in paradise without any intermediates. You don't need the infinite spirit in the mind circuit in paradise for the paradise citizens to understand. It's just when that goes from deity or absolute beings to finite beings that you need this interpretation. And without the infinite spirit, there would be no interpretation because there would be no mind spirit, right? Because that's a
Hmm.
circuit. And the mind
Yeah.
circuit allows it to be communicated to all the seven super universes, right? But to paradise, they don't need that because they're already there with God the Father. So what God the Father perceives in paradise is easily attainable by the paradise citizens because they're there,
Right.
right?
It's like a long time ago. I remember we were reading, wow, this is a long time ago. You had all kinds of pictures and all kinds of drawings. And there were the suns, I don't know the word,
Circuit,
planets,
circuit,
spheres, and nobody goes there.
yes, yeah,
Those who are there know
yeah,
why they're there,
yes,
but because they may be eternally from there or eventuated for there. I
right.
don't know. But it would be the same idea.
Yes. Yes, it would be
Yeah.
because they're there, they're part of what's going on already in paradise, which we have no
Yeah.
purview to without the mind circuit, right? If we did not have the infinite spirit and the local universe mother spirits, we would have no connection to what's going on in paradise for sure. Now we'd still have a connection with God the
Mm-hmm.
Father because the personality circuit of God the Father, but we wouldn't have the connection with the rest
Yes.
of the deity hierarchy in paradise without that infinite spirit because he or she converts that from paradise speak, whatever that is, to finite speak, and so that we can understand it in our own native, you could say languages or communication or whatever, right? Because it
Mm-hmm.
depends on where you are, what language and what communication would be
Mhm.
used. Mhm. So kind of interesting. All right. And this is what we conceive, right, as the ministry of mind. That's what I wanted to make sure we got there too. That's part of the mind circuit. Okay. Pam, would you take the next one?
This infinite and universal mind is ministered in the universes of time and space as the cosmic mind. And though extending from the primitive ministry of the adjutant spirits up to the magnificent mind of the chief executive of a universe, even this cosmic mind is adequately unified in the supervision of the seven master spirits, who are in turn coordinated with the supermind of time.
Supreme mind.
Oh,
Supreme mind.
sorry, supreme mind
Yeah.
of time and space, and perfectly correlated with the all embracing mind of the infinite spirit.
So you can see how what we call the cosmic mind or the mind connection for all the cosmos. I like that they use that the cosmic mind because that's what it is. It's a connection to the mind circuit of all seven super universe, all the cosmos. But that's made possible by the infinite spirit, right? And it comes through actually you can see this, it comes through the seven master spirits and through the supreme mind of each and every local universe, and is brought to us by the local universe mother spirit as part of the mind circuit, right? So all works together. That's why they call this intellectual unity, right? Um, all right, let's go on to the next one, spiritual unification. Okay, Jane, would you take the next one?
Okay. 3, spiritual unification. As the universal mind gravity is centered in the paradise personal presence of the infinite spirit, so does the universal spirit gravity center in the paradise personal presence of the eternal sun. The universal Father is one, but to time-space he is revealed in the dual phenomena of pure energy and pure spirit.
Okay, so it's not just the spiritual connection, it's the energy connection also. What gives us the energy connection? The Isle of Paradise itself, right?
Yeah.
All right. So it's not just the spirit connection, but this mind gravity, this is part of the four circuits we've talked about before, the Father circuit, the Son circuit, the infinite spirit circuit, the mind circuit, and the energy circuit to paradise. Okay. So energy always originates in paradise itself. So that's the four circuits. Now, within the Father circuit is also what? The personality circuit, right? So it's really functions duality. It functions anything the universal Father wants to relate to us through our thought adjuster, but it also is the circuit of the personality of that individual. So it's interesting how this connection works because if you choose not to survive, when the thought adjuster leaves, what do you think leaves with it?
The personality.
The personality. So you have no personality to reawaken. Does that
No,
make
there's
sense?
nothing there.
There's nothing there. So you can see why they teach us in the Urantia book there are no ghosts because once the personality is gone, the thought adjuster is gone, there's nothing to reconsciousize. There's no memory patterns, there's no nothing. Make sense? So you can ask me, well, what are these apparitions that people see and that sort of thing? It could be a dozen different things, but let me give you a couple examples of what it could be. Because of the way that energy and spirit and mind and Morancha essences and things like that, these assets apparitions of people could be a stuck period of time in which something that's happened in time is caught in a loop that replays itself constantly. Okay.
How can that change?
Well, let me give you a good example of that, and that's why I'm so bad on suicide. Let's say somebody hangs themselves, okay, in a house or whatever. Uh, on that moment of that hanging, when their essence, their spirit dies, right, and the thought adjuster leaves at that particular moment, there is no guardian angel to take their soul onto paradise. I mean, onto the mansion worlds, is there? Because there's nothing left if the thought adjuster it doesn't is not there any longer. The personality's gone. So that period in time, in essence, because it's part of a material world, may have gotten caught in some sort of time loop in which it replays itself over and over and over. And this could be what part of the aspiration, apparitions that people see in old houses and
Mhm.
things like that. They're not haunting ghosts. It's just playing something that keeps going on and on and on until the local authorities shut it off, the energy authorities. So that could be part of it. And it's also funny that any apparitions of beings and things like that never seem to last more than, let's say, 100 or 200 years. So you don't see apparitions of beings that were here 1,000 years ago, do you?
Right,
Have you ever heard of one? I've never heard of one,
right.
right? And so this may just be a time loop that gets caught in time. Other things it could be visitors from other planets, and we're getting a glimpse of their Morancha presence being there. Okay, that's another possibility, right? Could also be the thought adjusters doing their duties, moving back and forth. I saw something on one of the YouTube channels the other day, and somebody had recorded a bicycle going through a field faster than a car can. Okay. And it had nobody on it. So you'd say, well, what in the world could that be? It could be a thought adjuster using it for transportation, because we know the thought adjusters can move at 3,000 miles an hour. And how they choose to get there is anybody's guess.
Or a midwayer.
Or a midwayer.
Yeah.
Right?
Hmm.
So that's what I want to express to y'all. So things aren't always what they seem. All right. You see a lot of these things on YouTube and other places, about ghosts and things like that. Many of these things aren't ghosts at all. They could be just leftover apparitions of things that's happened
Mhm.
recently in the past. Okay, especially there was one I think where they were at a battlefield for the Civil War, and these people swore you could see on this thing it looked like an old soldier running across the field. Okay, something like that would make perfect sense if that soldier was not survivable, right? He made no spiritual connection. So these are just possibilities of things. You have to use your own mind to decide these
You're
things.
saying like a energy pattern.
Like an energy pattern that was not shut down completely. And who would be responsible for doing that? The material physical controllers. Okay. And if they do not know that it's going on or someone brought it to their attention, it may go on 100 years, without it being shut down because it's not of something of importance. You see what I'm saying? It's not part of their job to go out and find these things. So if they ran across it, they'd probably just shut it down. But these are busy guys. They don't sit around and do nothing,
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
these are just some of the possibilities, you got to keep an open mind about everything.
Mhm.
All right. So the mind gravity is centered in paradise, right? The spiritual unification. Okay. The personal presence of the infinite spirit is where? In paradise, right? Along with
Mhm.
God the Father and God the Son, God the Spirit. Okay. So is the personal presence of the eternal Son. Okay. What else is in paradise? Pure energy, because all energy comes from paradise, and pure spirit, because all spirit comes through the Son from paradise.
Correct.
Right? Makes sense?
Mhm.
Okay. So that's the spiritual part of it. Let's keep going. Um, Diane, I think you're back up again.
Paradise spirit realities are likewise one, but in all time-space situations and relations, this single spirit is revealed in the dual phenomena of the spirit personalities and emanations of the eternal Son and the spirit personalities and influences of the infinite spirit and associated creations. And there is yet a third, pure spirit fragmentations, the Father's bestowal of the thought adjusters and other spirit entities which are pre-personal.
Roger, you're on mute.
All right, y'all. There are spirit entities that are pre-personal. Okay. And I need to straighten something out tonight that I have probably misled people over and over again. And I want to straighten it out in my head because I straightened it out in my head. I need to straighten it out with y'all. Okay. When we talk about animals, okay, we know that animals do not have what?
Dolls.
Souls, right? Jesus taught us this. Okay. They're not soul survivable entities,
Correct.
right?
Mhm.
But I saw something the other day which changed my mind about what animals are. Let me explain why I'm coming up with this conclusion. Animals are perfect creatures. Did y'all know that? All animals. In the Garden of Eden, when animals were all in the Garden of Eden, they were there in their perfect form. Animals do not make decisions of sin. They do not sin. They don't,
Correct.
they never make sin, so they never have to make a decision about sin, right? That's why there is no reason to have salvation for animals because they are already a spirit entity. You follow me?
Follow you.
If animals are a spirit entity and they die, what happens? Because they are spirit entities and nothing is wasted in any of the 7 super universes, what do you think happens to them?
They go to the mother spirit.
They go to the mother spirit. That's exactly right. And the mother spirit, if she decides so, would
Constitute.
reformulate them in the mansion worlds for those who have had a loving relationship with an animal.
A spiritual relationship.
A spiritual relationship. That's right. It's a pure love, a pure spirit relationship. You see
That's a
that?
lovely thought.
It is. Because if you think about it this way, your animals, I don't know, everyone's had an animal of one type or another, usually through life. And what happens is these animals become so dependent upon you. If something happens to you, they grieve themselves to death.
Yeah, they're family.
Yeah.
They're family because you have a love relationship with that animal. You follow me?
Hmm.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
we know that nothing is wasted in the universe, don't we? So if you have a love relationship, which is a spiritual relationship, not just a material relationship, if
Correct.
you have a love relationship with that animal, wouldn't it make sense that when you awaken on the mansion worlds at some point, that love relationship would continue?
You
Because
would
it's a
think
spiritual
so.
relationship, it's not a material.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yep.
Yes.
So what I've been telling everyone is your animals just die, and I've been lying to you.
Well, you haven't been lying, Roger.
No,
It's
it was
informed.
it's
Haven't been lying.
misinformed.
No, things evolve and change, and
That's right. It's a lack.
yeah,
I've had an epiphany, and I've been enlightened on it. Let me put it
that's
that way.
right.
You
It
know,
all comes out in small veils.
that's right. That's
Another
right.
little veil gone.
So the reason I
And
wanted to,
I agreed with you before. I thought, yeah, they're animals.
yeah,
They are loved, but they serve their purpose here. But
yes,
I'm open to the idea that we will meet them there because I've had wonderful pets, and that would be
yeah,
great.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
me too.
It was
And
one of those things I would have left to whatever happens according to what the surprises I will find.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
God's will, which
Yeah.
whatever happens.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to clarify that because I don't want to mislead people into thinking that they put love into this relationship with all their animals and it was wasted because we know nothing is wasted in the universe, right?
No, nothing's wasted.
Mhm.
So this is my epiphany I wanted to share with y'all. So,
Thank you.
I can't be right about everything. I try to, when I realize I've made an error in judgment or misinterpretation, I feel like I need to straighten it out because
Yeah. I do
Mhm.
Yeah,
personally.
It's extremely important.
yeah, it's an important thing.
Thank
So,
you.
Mhm.
okay. So that's why I wanted to bring it up in this because they're talking about spirit realities here, paradise spirit realities. And if animals are pure spirit fragmentations, like the thought adjusters are, then those spirit fragmentations don't die. They have to go on. So, and that's my interpretation. That's why I wanted to bring it in uh, this form. And the other thing is it says here that and yet a third spirit fragmentation of the Father's bestowal of the thought adjuster and other spirit entities which are pre-personal.
So what's an
Would-
example of that?
Yes, it's a perfect example of that because we know they've told us that animals do not have personality,
Correct.
right? So that makes them pre-personal. Make sense?
Mhm.
Well, but
You
I thought
know,
pre-personal was a being before it got personality.
That's right. But we do not know, Rodney, if these animals sometime in the future, either in this universe or out space levels, we don't know. We don't know if those beings will receive personality from the Father later. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Okay,
So that would make them pre-personal.
Mhm.
well, that's true.
I mean, that's just the logical way to think it. What were you going to say, Jen?
it was a thought that I had. I remembered many, many years ago. I'm not sure if it was Edgar Casey or somebody else teaching. I heard it said that animals don't have a soul, but they have a class soul,
Hey,
which
what?
means all dogs,
A
all
class.
dogs are under a class soul,
Hmm.
you know, collectively,
Oh, I
and they're
got you.
governed that
Okay.
way.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't understand the term you were using as a class.
Mhm.
So yeah.
They called it class, a class soul.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
So it won't be an individual entity,
Yes.
but collectively they belong and they evolve. Dogs also get smarter and
Hmm.
you know, like so the soul, but as a class. I don't know if that's right or wrong. I don't even
Yeah,
remember the source. I
yeah,
just remembered the
I
sentence.
have not heard that before, but it's, anything's possible.
Mhm.
So, he could be right about that. I'm not sure, but I don't really feel that way because having so many animals, me and my wife through the years, they're all different. They're not, even though they're the same type of animal and have the same tendencies of training, they are all totally unique. I mean, we've got cats that sometimes I don't think they're cats. I mean, they're just they're different. So, just like people are different.
Mhm.
So anyway,
Mhm.
okay. Well, let's move on to the next one.
Mhm.
I don't even know who. Rodney, I think you're up again, isn't it, Rodney?
Okay,
Huh?
I just
is that all
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
No matter on what level of universe activities you may encounter spiritual phenomena or contact with spirit beings, you may know that they are all derived from the God who is Spirit by the ministry of the Spirit Son and the infinite mind, Spirit. And this far flung Spirit functions as a phenomena on the evolutionary worlds of time as it is directed from the headquarters of the local universes. From these capitals of the Creator's sons come the Holy Spirit and the Spirit of truth, together with the ministry of the adjutant mind spirits, to the lower and evolving levels of material minds.
So the spirit world is an entity in itself, what it boils down to, right? This reminds me of the story when Jesus was taken to the temple. Remember this story? And they were sacrificing the lambs, the priests were. And Jesus actually got physically ill from this.
When he was
12
13,
years old,
well,
12, 13. Yeah,
12, 13, yeah.
right. And so it makes me wonder if because of his reaction, he had an automatic reaction of the fact that these spirit entities were being sacrificed without cause, you know, and they were part of his creation, and he didn't realize that at 12 or 13 years old. Okay. So he had a physical reaction from the horribleness of a spirit being sacrificed for people's sin, and it was totally unnecessary,
Yeah.
Mhm.
you know.
Oh,
So just wanted to throw that in there. That's what this made me remember.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, Pam, would you take the next one?
While mind is more unified on the level of the master spirits in association with the supreme being and as the cosmic mind in subordination to the absolute mind, the spirit ministry to the evolving worlds is more directly unified in the personalities resident on the headquarters of the local universes and in the persons of the presiding divine ministers, who are in turn well nigh perfectly correlated with the paradise gravity circuit of the eternal Son, wherein occurs final unification of all time space spirit manifestations.
Interesting, isn't
that
it?
was one sentence.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's what you call a run-on sentence, right? All right. So let's walk through this run-on sentence here. All right. First, we have the master spirits, the seven master spirits, right? But this comes from the supreme being through paradise. Okay. So you can see how the connection of supreme being is here through the master spirits, right? The cosmic mind. And it's in subordination to the absolute mind, which is way into the future, right? The spirit ministry involved in the world is more directly unified in personality resident the headquarters of the local universe, who would be the local universe mother spirits, right? So this circuit of this cosmic mind and the spirit comes through these divine ministers, and it's correlated through paradise gravity. So you have physical gravity or power and spiritual power coming through the same circuit. You see that? This also gives us an indication that the spirit circuit or the spirit of truth comes through the local universe mother spirit also, because it's the power of paradise gravity that gives the spirit gravity circuit or the spirit of truth the power to do all of its work. Make
Hmm.
sense? So even though it's straight from the sun, it has to come through the local universe mother spirit, which is associated with the infinite spirit.
It has to use
Yeah.
a circuit.
Right. This is why the spirit of truth and the Holy Spirit, which is the infinite spirit circuit, come through the same thing, the local universe mother spirit. Okay. So we have both spiritual influences coming through the same source. All right. Jane, would you take the next one, please?
Perfected creature existence can be attained, sustained, and eternalized by the fusion of self-conscious mind with a fragment of the pre-Trinity spirit endowment of someone of the persons of the Paradise Trinity. The mortal mind is the creation of the sons and daughters of the eternal Son and the infinite Spirit. When fused with the thought adjuster from the Father, partakes of the threefold spirit endowment of the evolutionary realms. But these three spirit expressions become perfectly unified in the finaliters, even as they were in eternity so unified in the universal I am, ere he ever became the universal Father of the eternal Son and the infinite Spirit. Well,
Okay.
that has to be read all over again.
I know.
Yeah.
Let me kind of
There's a
break this
lot of
down because
stuff in there.
Yeah.
this is some pretty heavy stuff, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
It tells us here that perfected creature existence can be attained. What does that say? That means we can reach spiritual perfection in this life.
Well, I don't know. In this life,
In
eventually,
this life, and when that happened, what happens? Fusion of the
Right.
self-conscious mind and the fragment of the pre-Trinity spirit endowment of some one of the persons of paradise. What happens? We become fused, and if we become perfect, what happens? Adjuster fusion happens,
Correct.
right? Since it's a fragment of God the Father, or that's not all, it could be a fragment of God the Son, or it could be a fragment of the infinite spirit. Okay? Because it says here, a fragment of the pre-Trinity spirit endowment of some one of the persons of the Paradise Trinity. So that means all three, or any of the three. You follow me?
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right. Now, not only that, when we were talking about the animals earlier,
Correct.
and I made the statement that the animals were already perfect spirit endowed creatures.
Correct.
Okay. This could be a justification before that, because these perfect creatures that were created for our enjoyment, okay, that's the only reason they're here. These creatures already are perfect. So what do they relate to us? Perfect love. All right. They do not need to fuse with anything because they're already in the spirit existence and instead of just the mortal existence.
Hmm.
You see that? What I'm talking
Yes,
about?
Roger. But the difference between them and us is they will always remain a creature through
Yes.
eternity,
They won't ever
while
be humans. They
we,
won't ever be humans. That's right.
yeah, we will change from a perfect creature to a finaliter, which is a
Yes.
lot more.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
But there's many, let me put it this way, there's many types of beings out there in the universe that, number one, they don't tell us about, right? They don't enlighten us of. And there's
Yes.
many other types of beings that you could call human that are probably we will meet and interact with on our way to paradise, that are created and made for their position wherever they are, right? So we will
Yeah.
meet multiple types of beings on our way to paradise that will never go on the ascension plan,
Yeah.
right? Because they're
And
perfect.
it's not really important how they look. It
No,
has nothing to do with
as
how
that's right.
creatures, yeah.
Right. That's right.
Mhm.
And then this paragraph goes on to say that our mortal mind, that's take us away from all the other spirit creatures, all right, are the creations of the sons and daughters, the eternal Son and the infinite Spirit. What are they talking about? They're talking about the Creator Son and the local universe Mother Spirit. Okay? When fused with a thought adjuster from the Father. So we have all three parts of the Trinity there, don't we?
Correct.
The eternal Son, the infinite Spirit, and the Father. All
Yeah.
right. And then it says partakes of the threefold spirit endowment of the evolutionary realm. What are they talking about? They mean that we have had a spirit endowment of the Father, a spirit endowment of the Son, and a spirit endowment of the infinite Spirit.
Correct.
Okay. So all three parts, and that it gives us a spirit endowment for the evolutionary realm. So because we're going through this life in the finite, we're going through an evolutionary process. All right. And it goes on to tell us that these expressions become unified in the phenoliters. Why is it in the phenoliters? Because by the time you become a phenoliter, you understand the process of evolution all the way from the beginning all the way to the end. So what does that make us unified for? To be prepared to stand before the universal I am, God the Father.
Wow.
Okay. Lot in that, right? And
Yes. Yes.
in doing that, the universal Father, it tells us, was the Father of not only us, but the eternal Son and the infinite Spirit.
Hmm.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of stuff here, right? All right. Who just read? Pam? Did Pam just read?
I think I did. I don't know.
remember.
Jane just read? It's your turn, dear.
Oh,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
Spirit must always and ultimately become threefold in expression and Trinity unified in final realization. Spirit originates from one source through a threefold expression, and in finality, it must and does attain its full realization in that divine unification, which is experienced in finding God, oneness with divinity in eternity, and by means of the ministry of the cosmic mind of the finite, of the infinite expression of the eternal word of the Father's universal thought.
Okay. So when we go on this process of exploring and evolving through eternity, what happens is we become the expression of all three of the paradise deities, right? God the Father, God the Son, and God the Spirit. So we become experienced in finding God, but it says the oneness of divinity, with oneness with divinity. And we do this through the cosmic mind because we start to understand how all this stuff comes together, right? And we do that because of the cosmic mind. And so that's what they're talking about, the eternal, the infinite expression of the Father's concept is the Word, which is the Son, through a universal thought from God the Father himself. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. We're 6:53. I think I'm going to wait and go to this next section next time. Let me think. Last time we did this, I think when we started the second section, we did an hour and a half and we started the second section, and I think it was part 4 that we started on last time, and it took us 2 hours to finish. So we will probably need 2 more sessions to finish this.
I've got a
Okay.
question though, Roger.
Go right ahead.
Uh, so it's my understanding that the cosmic mind does not function in paradise.
Yes, it does. It comes from paradise.
Yeah,
The cosmic mind actually comes from paradise because it comes through the supreme,
okay.
right? Starts with the absolute, but it comes through the supreme. That's its origin.
So we will always be in the circuit of the cosmic mind.
Cosmic mind. That's right. We will.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the cosmic mind, then we could say that it exists on very many levels.
That's
And
right.
what are those circuits?
Those are circuits. Now, keep in mind that because the mind circuit, the regular mind circuit, is different for each of the 7 super universes, is it not? Because
Yes.
each one comes through a different master spirit.
Correct.
Okay. So if it comes through a different master spirit, the mind circuit of that particular super universe is going to be different than each other one. They're going to be unique. However, let me give you all something else to think about. Our mind circuit also is the mind circuit for the Supreme because the 7th Master Spirit is the vicegerent for the Supreme.
Correct.
So, my big question is this: if that's the case, is because we come through the 7th Master Spirit, are we more plugged into the cosmic mind?
I don't know.
I don't think so, but I do think eventually we might have maybe an easier understanding of certain things.
We might. We really might
You know,
because the seventh
like
master
with the
spirit is
Trinity,
constantly
perhaps.
relating the other seven super universes too,
Yeah,
right?
but right now, unless we are advanced as human beings spiritually, and we've attained a certain circle that we are already living in a Morontia mind,
Uh-huh.
right? Right now,
Yeah,
we're simply existing, at least for myself, with the adjutant mind spirit.
that's
Correct.
right.
That's where I'm at, with the
Yeah,
adjutant mind spirit.
right.
Then we move into the cosmic mind spirit as Morontia beings,
That's right. In the
and we
later
will
part of
stay
Morancha
there.
beings. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
we'll stay there for a very long time. I would think forever, according to what I hear you say, Roger. But
Correct.
then that change when God the ultimate,
Yeah.
are we part of that too, right?
Yes, we will be part of that too.
Part
That's
of that
correct.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is that the same mind?
Yes.
Or,
It's
yeah.
all the same mind, but the difference is we're more influenced by the local universe mindset than because of the adjutant than we will be when we move into the super universe. Then we'll be more attuned to the cosmic mind. That'll be the
Yeah. Okay.
universal mind. Yeah. Okay. Let's go ahead and say our prayer. Let me change the share. And let's do our prayer tonight. Okay. Whew. Well, that was a lot of information, y'all, right?
Yeah, it is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. You feel like reading the prayer, Drew? Okay. Okay.
Prayer of acceptance. I believe that God is my paradise Father, and that only by faith am I saved. No sacrifice is necessary. By this same faith, I became a child of God, and know that all men and women are my brothers and sisters. We know the Son of God, the sovereign of our universe of Nebadon, as Christ Michael, Jesus of Nazareth. By allowing the will of God to become my will, I will someday stand in the presence of the Paradise Father. In the name of Christ Michael, Jesus of Nazareth. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Diane.
Roger, you're muted. Roger.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Can't remember to unmute. Well, thanks everybody for coming to the meeting tonight. Thank you all at home. Please come and see us again, and we'll enjoy finishing this up over the next couple sessions. I know it's going to take us at least two more sessions. So Thursday we will come back to this again, and then next Tuesday probably, and then we'll start the Life of Christ. And let me mention too, I've posted on Facebook uh, three more videos. The three other videos for paper 121 that we did in 2023 to prepare everyone for paper 122, which is the birth of Christ. Okay, so if y'all want to get a jump on the life of Christ, you can go there on Facebook and you can find those on Facebook. They're also already posted on YouTube. They've been out there for a year, so you can listen to those if you'd like to get the. This is the paper on the times and area of the times of Jesus when he was born. Okay, and it's pretty interesting. That's why there's four
Mhm.
parts to it. It's a lot on there.
Good.
Yeah, so they're out there and people can prepare themselves for the life of Christ. And once we get into that, that's all we'll be doing for quite some time, probably a year.
Mhm.
So let everybody know.
Thank you
So,
so much because your interpretations of everything we read is so impactful. I mean, I just, in my own reading have gone, oh yeah, I understand that.
yeah, that's why we do this, right? Hmm.
Yeah.
So everybody will understand. Okay, yeah, I
Good
love you
night.
guys,
Thank you.
and we'll see you
Thank you.
Thursday.
Good night,
And
all.
Bye-bye. Good
if you
Night,
night.
hear
everybody.
from Gary,
Oh yeah,
Peace and love.
Tell
I'll
him
let
that we
him know.
all wish him well.
y'all hang on for a minute. Let me kind of fill you in just a second. I don't want to say this
Correct.
online. So let me disconnect the live stream. Stop. Oh, let's see if that did it. Give me a second, y'all. Okay, it's disconnected.
Saying it's still being recorded.
Yes.
Yeah, let me stop the recordings too, y'all. Give me a second here.